Hi, this is Mary Kay. I'm going to do a sample painting of a couple of small penguins. I just got back from Australia and went to see the penguin march. So you can't take pictures of the penguins, but I took this off the internet. I like the shape of them coming together. So what I did was I used a piece of water-soluble graphite and I traced them with a pencil, and that's what that looks like now. In one of the gift stores I was in, I saw some cards that were very colorful, and I thought, I'm going to try to have a little fun with this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the penguins, and these are blue. So I'm going to use my blues. I'm going to start with cerulean and Antwerp and see how that looks. Maybe some manganese. That's good too. I like all those colors. I'm going to wet the blue parts here. With water. There's a little bit of blue in my brush. There's his flipper. This part's all nice dark blue, so I'll just do one first. Their beaks are blue too, so I'm just going to start. Go right to the eye. I have a big eyelid. They're pretty smooth right through that. Their feathers make their backs pretty smooth. And then there's little flecks in here, so I don't want to make it too solid. His flipper is darker blue even. Here's his back. I think this is kind of catching the shadow. They come out, when you see them, it's dusk. So I don't know how they got, you can't photograph them because they're so sensitive to the flashes and all the little blue lights that we can't see that they can see. I'm not quite sure what's happening right here. So his feathers go over his foot somehow right there. Now I'm going to add some darker blues to that. I can try a little Antwerp. See what happens if I add a little Antwerp. Can't see too much difference there. I'm going to try a little indigo. See what happens with that is some dark stuff. Oh yeah, let's see. Oh, look at that, it's pretty. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I leave a few whites. And up here in his beak. So these little penguins are about 1 foot high, and they've managed to make little walkways so people can watch them and not disturb them at the same time, which is incredible. My kitty's going to help me. Why don't you go away, kitty? I don't really need your help. So I'm painting this flipper a little darker. Now I'll go back in with the lighter blue. Just had my brush loaded with that, so. Kitties are so helpful. Kitty, are you helpful? No. I'm going to make this flipper a little bigger so that it's not a adjacent line. It's actually over these other parts. Okay, there's a little bit of blue there. I'm going to work on the other side now. Same thing, I'm going to do this will be more blue. So their legs don't have knees. Most birds have knees that bend backwards from our knees. Penguins don't have knees. That's why they have to waddle. When they walk, they just have to go straight. So they have to waddle like that. Sometimes these are called blue penguins because they're blue, but they're mostly called little penguins because they're about a foot tall, maybe 13 inches. So they come in, I think like all penguins do. They go out and they feed in the ocean for up to 3 or 4 days while their mate stays in the den and sits on the eggs. They're not like emperor penguins. I think they take turns. So about maybe a third of the population is out in the water at one time. So every night, about 1,000 penguins come in from the ocean right at dusk, and about 1,000 go out, leaving 1,000 in their nests. That's just an approximate number, I think, and it changes too during breeding seasons. Now, this is his flipper. That's so pretty. That's a big flipper. Okay. I'm leaving the bellies white right now, and I'm going to put some different colors in them. So here's here's the indigo that I'm adding to this beak. One of the, I think, the most beautiful techniques in watercolor. Okay, we want to get these two almost touching, but not quite. Is one of the most beautiful techniques, I believe, is that when you put on paint, put on one color, it's kind of wet on the paper, and then you go in with a different color and it bleeds into that. I think that makes a beautiful watercolor. That's what I'm hoping to kind of get, even with just these different blues, letting them blend into each other. I believe again here, this is kind of in the, that's kind of dried out. That's got nice and dark. Hi, cutie. I see you. Oh, I can't pet you right now. Okay, I can pet you a little bit. Okay, go on. Go get down. Go get, bye-bye. Thank you, kitty cat. Okay. Now I'm going to just paint with a little water. See what that does. And I want to just get a little bit of color into the white bellies now. Or actually, I think I'm going to try and put a couple more colors in before I do the belly. So this flipper right here looks almost kind of red. And if I'm just going to be playful and play a little bit more with it, I'm just going to kind of jazz that up a little bit. So I'm going to make it sort of a pink flipper. So I added permanent rose into my cerulean or manganese, like that. You can put some of that someplace else. Once you have one color, it needs to be in other places, 2 or 3 other places in your painting. I think it needs to be darker too, on at least at the very tip here. Okay, so there it was pink. The pink was wet, and I put in a little bit of indigo, and it blossomed into it, so I always love that. Okay, a few dots right there. Alrighty, I think the next thing I'm going to do is, work on this flipper some more. I'm going to go with that manganese. A little bit of water so that I just barely touch my brush, so I have just a little bit more water in this. Come around on the flipper. There's the tiniest bit of white at the bottom of this flipper. And now I'm going to use the indigo that has in here just to make this flipper really look big. Okay, now I'm going to work on the white bellies. And the white bellies is, you can see in this photo, the white belly has a lot of colors in it. I'm not going to go that crazy, but I just have a wet brush here. And I have some color in it from what I've used already. And I'm just wetting the white belly and the bottom of this flipper over here. And now just put, I might even just put a little yellow in there, just like this other picture has. Like, there's not really yellow there, but you know what? This is a watercolor. It's my watercolor. I can do it if I want to. A little bit of yellow. I'm gonna put some pinks, that pinky color I made. And now I'm just gonna add water to that and see what it does. Okay, there we go. That's my, I like it, it's fun. It's a little different. I'm gonna let that area around the eyes dry before I paint in the eyes. I'm gonna go to the flippers now, the feet. I'm gonna kind of do the same thing as I did to the belly. I'm wetting them. Now I'll go in, I'm gonna go in with the dark because they have dark tips on their toes. This is the indigo. I'd have to really look which indigo I just used. I don't know. And then over here, this guy, bottom. Goes over here and down. There's a little bit there. Over here, this is a foot. Got a sharp toe there. Okay, my brush is getting a little frayed. Okay, that's good. And then again, I'm just gonna wet my, there's still paint in my brush, but I'm just going to wet the rest of this white feet with my dirty brush. And I see some pink, especially in those feet right there, so I want to put that in. And if there's some there, I better put some here. What other color should I use? I might just tiniest bit of yellow. Oh, I like it. I think it's fun. And then I think I need to maybe even switch brushes and just put a few more darks. This is indigo again. I'm just putting like little toenails in. I'm hoping it'll bleed a little bit. I don't want it to be too harsh of an edge. And there's this light, I think, goes up like, I'm just trying to, I don't really know what that looks like. I'm just trying to sort of blend it in. There's a little bit of a shadow on that side right here. So I'll make it a little darker and let it bleed. How's this guy doing? I'll work on him a little bit. That's looks like a little toenail that's tucking in under that one. Over here we have the same. Okay. Now the eyes. So I have said 100 times that all eyes have glints. And even though there's not really a glint in these eyes, we're going to put the tiniest one in. Their eyes are very circular. They have lids around them. So I'm making a little circle. And there's a dot right in the center. This guy over here. The actual eye is very round. And there's things around it that aren't so round. Here, my brush is separated a little bit. Okay, and then this is more like a slit, not such a circle. I see, I don't know what color their eyes are. They look kind of yellow, so yellowish brown, but I have those yellows there. I think if I make these eyes with yellows, now I left a couple little lights in there. Now I'm going to go in and put the lids around them. And this guy too. I'm just using indigo. I'm trying to make this look like a softer lid right here. A little bump there, and then here. Don't want to overdo this too much, because maybe as I do one stroke, that's just too much. You know when to quit when that one stroke makes it worse. I'm going to put a few feathers in here. When you paint wet into wet, like this, most of this was, it really makes it look like soft feathers. And then you can put a few extra little flecks in when it's a little drier that don't blend. Oh, I left out his chin here. I should have made that more white in there, but oh well. Nobody's gonna know. Okay, and then there's just the tiniest bit of white here at this bottom flipper. I don't really have it in, so I'm gonna wet that with water. And then put these same little pale colors in there, so. Okay, I like it. Now that that's dry, I want to paint the background. And it's, now we can go these different ways. We can just do like sand and make it really look like it is here. And what I'm doing right now is I'm just wetting the paper with my 3/4 inch brush. And we have to decide what we want to do with this background. I'm not wetting, I'm just wetting around the birds now. And we want to kind of make it, it's a big decision that you have to make. What are you going to do with this background? And you can put in a sand color if you want to keep it more realistic. I have to say I'm in this mood of the just having some fun with the colors, letting it drip, and being a little wilder with it, splatting, letting it drip. So you're gonna have to decide how you want to handle it. Very personal decision at this point. This is nice and wet. Okay, I'm just gonna go for it. So there's colors that I use so far. I'm not gonna add any new colors. I'm only gonna use the colors that I have been using. And that's pretty risky because I'm gonna definitely end up I think that must have been on dry paper, the way that they did this one. I can see the way it's moving. I think it was on dry paper. The way that it's all kind of moving out. It's almost like they blew it with a straw. Did you ever do that in elementary school? Did you have a teacher that had you do that? So there's some yellow, pink, not yellow. Now I'm going to go into more yellow. Little clean spot, clean brush, clean water. I can start tilting my paper now, making this run. I have to make sure that I save that belly and the white of the leg. If I have that yellow on one side of the beak, it needs to be on the other side of the beak too. I feel like I'm back with Peter Max. I loved him so much when I was a child that I had a sleeping bag. Peter Max sleeping bag. I think he's still alive, and I've seen his paintings. All right, I'm going for the yellow in there just because it's on both sides. You got to have it. Okay, this guy will go here and here. Okay, now what am I going to do now for the rest of this background? Blues. I could do some Antwerp. See what happens. Oh, okay. Some over there. I better have some here. Yeah, this would be better if it weren't a cat here. Where'd that come from? Oh, this is fun. That's not a good color. I don't like it when it went green on me. Which it, oh, so I put it into the yellow, so it definitely went green. Let's try that again. That's pure Antwerp. Okay, there we go. Now the bottom here is the water. This is where I would actually have more yellow, I think. Now this is dry on dry, and I'm gonna just make lines with my 3/4 inch brush. Oh, can you see that? You can't see that. Sorry about that. Here, I got it. I'm back in now, back in the frame. I'm gonna add Antwerp. So that made green. It's not too bad. Now I'm gonna go with the indigo. And I'm gonna make little reflections where it's turning green now. I don't think I like that. Maybe I should have done pink, and then this would all be purple. Let's see what happens. Add some pink. So I'm just having fun. Sometimes it's fun to have a little bit of fun. I think I could sign my name in this mess. I'll just go right here. Thanks for painting with me.